Let's talk about SBF. So the trial's finally taking place of this guy who's said to be a crypto criminal. He was one of those boy geniuses. He worked at this very successful Jane Capital, and then he decided he could do it on his own. And he went out there, he formed this investment fund, Alameda Research, and Alameda was making investments. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to do crypto myself. I'm going to create a crypto trading fund, and I'm going to create a cryptocurrency, and I'm going to do this other thing under FTX, under the label FTX. Well, long story short, people were investing in FTX by the billion. And it turns out Sam Bankman-Fried, darling of the celebrity world and of the left in particular for all his donations, though he made some to the right too, mostly to the left, was taking all this money out of the Alameda part, which was supposed to be investments of people's money, and covering his shortfalls on the FTX, or reverse that. He was taking money from the FTX exchange and using it to put into the Alameda hedge fund. And that's a no-no. You're not allowed to do that. I'll read to you the way Bloomberg put it, which is pretty simple. He said, the essential charges against Sam Bankman-Fried are customers deposited billions at his crypto exchange FTX to buy crypto. Then Alameda Research, his trading firm, secretly took that money to gamble on crypto tokens and made weird illiquid venture investments. A lot of the money also seemed to be siphoned off to make political donations, buy celebrity endorsements, pay for Bahamas real estate for Bankman-Fried and his family. And when customers started to ask for their money back last November, it wasn't there. It's not good. So he's at trial starting today. Arthur, you tell me, how would you defend this case?
Well, I know this judge very well. I've appeared before him many times. And the reason why I bring that up is he puts a lot of handcuffs on you. I was in the courtroom when Joe Tacopina was just trying Donald Trump's case in front of this exact same judge. And I lost count of how many times he warned Mr. Tacopina during cross-examination that he was either going to sit him down or sanction him. And as Mark will tell you, a lot of that goes into your strategy. What will the judge allow you to do? What can't you do? What arguments can you make? What arguments can't you make? One of the arguments they want to make is they want to blame a lot on his lawyers. One of the hugest law firms, as you know, Megyn, is Sullivan and Cromwell, and they were there and they were advising him, and they want to blame the lawyers. And I believe the judge has already ruled, nope, you can't do that.
It's a problem.
Boy, does that take a bullet out of your arsenal if you can't blame the people who are giving you legal advice that, it's okay to make the transfers of money from X to Y. And the judge's like, no, you can't argue that to the jury. That's devastating.
That is a problem. I mean, Mark, the way I see it is the prosecution, they opened yesterday saying, this guy deliberately lied to the world. That's a quote. They said, quote, he was taking these customer deposits and spending them for himself. Not only for his place in the Bahamas, but his parents, who we'll get to in a minute. They were cashing in big time, these revered Stanford law professors. Oh, well, as it turns out, they were all too gleeful about taking all these people's deposits. As far as I know, they haven't given any of them back. But the defense got up there and said, this is a well-intentioned guy. He acted in good faith. There was no intention to defraud. And you can't make a criminal out of somebody who just kind of screwed up a business.
That's the defense. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client screwed up, but it doesn't meet the elements of the crime. And when people invest in businesses, there's no guarantees. Things can go belly up because things happen. And in this case, they're going to explain how each allocation, like to a condo in the Bahamas and other things that he spent money on, for the benefit of the corporation. And even if hindsight's 2020 and maybe he wouldn't do those things moving forward, at the time, that was the decision he made. And maybe it wasn't the best one. It ultimately led to the failure of the company, but it wasn't criminal, is going to be the argument. Do I buy it? Not necessarily, but that's the argument.
Arthur,
it's also the excess, Megyn. You mentioned his parents. They bought some, I don't know how much it was, multiple $1 million house, $50 maybe $1 million house in the Bahamas. His dad was on the payroll. His girlfriend was the CEO of the corporation. I mean, that's the guy.
Alameda.
By the way, I know the prosecutor, Nick Rose. He's the one I was dealing with on Rudy Giuliani's subpoena in the Southern District. I know Chris Everdell, the criminal defense attorney, he also tried the Ghislaine Maxwell case, in which I'm working on the appeal as we speak. They're very fine lawyers in front of a very experienced, tough judge, and Bill Clinton, appointee. He knows his stuff, the judge, but he plays a role in the trial, in my opinion, more than he should, which is going to restrict definitely the defense more than the prosecutors.
Here's what, just a word on the parents. So they, Barbara Fried and Joseph Bankman are their names. They, according to Bloomberg, were active participants in and beneficiaries of Bankman-Fried's, quote, generosity. They were, let's see, just to give you a couple, because FTX, Bankman-Fried's firm, just sued both of them, alleging they siphoned millions of bucks from the exchange for their own personal benefit. They said that the father here, Bankman, portrayed himself as the proverbial adult in the room, but instead of raising alarms about misconduct, he stayed silent and actively worked to suppress efforts to expose the fraud. He denies all of this. They allege that he enriched himself, and so did his wife, including a $10 million cash gift and a $16.4 million luxury property in the Bahamas, that the dad also wanted $1 million annual salary for himself, complaining when he only received around $200,000 a year, and that he received a cameo appearance, which he demanded, in that Super Bowl ad that featured Larry David, because he wanted to see himself on screen. There he is. And finally, he then funneled $5.5 million to Stanford because he wanted to look like a big shot. So the dad and the mom, they deny this, but if true, they sound disgusting too. All right, that's my take on it. Meanwhile, though, Mark, what they're saying is the defense lawyer got up there and said something important, which we did hear earlier in this case. The defense is arguing, well, he put it in question form, but there is a question about whether it was written into the code that Alameda, the investment arm, right? It's not the crypto exchange, FTX. Alameda, the investment arm, was allowed to borrow an almost unlimited amount of money from FTX. They argued that far from being a secret, the defense claimed, this bit of information was open and transparent, and any senior developer at FTX could see it, that you were allowed to take money out of FTX and use it over at Alameda. I mean, I don't know how that works, whether it was disclosed to investors or just FTX employees. That would be important to know the difference of, but that could be ballgame, potentially.
Yeah, let me break this down for you. If some of your viewers are confused because they're not even sure what you just said, and or they don't know if money is supposed to go here or there, then they're no different than the average juror who has no comparison, for the most part, intellectually with some of the prosecutors who need to dumb this down really simply. What they do benefit from are the things that you said earlier. Parents making millions of dollars that these jurors won't see in a lifetime. For what? Those types of scenarios really resonate, plus the victim stories. We have to emphasize, if you're the prosecutor, you've got to emphasize how people were hurt.
That's how they opened their case. They opened their case by putting a victim. They opened their case yesterday after openings by putting a victim on the stand.
You got to do that. You got to get them to care. What do they care about this? You got to get them to care, and you got to show that what he did was so outrageous, so beyond any realm that they're used to, that it equates to this emotional reaction that could potentially be criminal.
But the flip side of the cross-examination of that victim is you knew that there were risks involved. You signed paperwork when you made the investment with us talking about there was nothing guaranteed. You signed paperwork that you had to give us your net worth, that you were investing money that you could lose, and you would still be able to pay the mortgage and the kids' college tuition. And it was just a deal that went bad. Would you be complaining about the $16 million house in the Bahamas if you made $16 million from your investment? I don't think you would. And that's, I think, the way you have to attack those victims.
Well, I wouldn't have known about it, but for this thing going kaplunk and learning about the fraud. You're right. I wouldn't have complained. But, you know, what I learned after disturbs me and clearly evidences that I was defrauded.
That I put money into this crypto exchange thinking that I was going to be betting and buying on crypto. And that when I found out there might be a problem at the crypto exchange in terms of its solvency, I went and knocked on the door and said, I would like my money back. I'm kind of done with this whole experiment. I'll take it back even at a loss, but I no longer want to keep the bet on the table. And the answer was, oh, it's all gone. I know what the bank statement said, that you had some in there, but sort of Madoff like, it's gone because we took all this money out of the FTX crypto exchange and we used it over here in the Alameda Investment Fund because we were losing over there too. We wanted to cover our losses. Oh, and we also gave $55 million to Tom Brady to appear in an ad for us. And we paid Larry David $10 million to appear in that Super Bowl ad. And we paid for a $16.4 million condo for my parents down in the Bahamas, never mind mine, as Sam Bankman-Fried, and my girlfriend's. Like, sorry, that's what happened. We took it out of the crypto line. We put it over here in Alameda. Then we either blew it or we spent it in the Bahamas. And sorry, that was just good business investing. I just feel like if you can explain it simply to the jury, they're going to get, Arthur, that I don't care whether he had an evil mind in doing it. He was at a minimum criminally reckless with billions of dollars.
But the argument maybe Judge Kaplan would allow them to make is, in summation, is like, ladies and gentlemen, do you know how much the president of General Motors makes? $29 million. Do you know how much General Motors loses every year? X amount of dollars. Do you know how much the stock went down last year? Y amount of dollars. Do you know who invests in General Motors stock? All the pension funds, all the civil servants. You know what? They all lost money. Do you see the president of General Motors in this courtroom in front of Judge Kaplan being charged with crimes? No. So when you're the head of a corporation, you're entitled to whatever compensation that board has awarded you, the same way General Motors has. They're targeting this young man, and then you have to figure out some angle of why this administration particularly is targeting him.
I'm excited to tell you about our new sponsor, C60 Power. If you have not heard of Carbon 60 before, it's also known as C60, a powerful, naturally occurring, Nobel Prize-winning antioxidant that works at the cellular level. C60 Power says C60 can help to increase energy and mental clarity by neutralizing oxidative stress and the toxic free radicals that contribute to aging. Now, not all producers of C60 are created equally. It's very important to go for high quality, 99.99% pure C60 if you're going to do it, and don't accept any cheap knockoffs. Many people who consume just a teaspoon a day of C60 Power as part of their morning routine note an increase in energy and mental clarity within 30 days of daily use. If you feel like you're slowing down or could benefit from more energy and mental clarity, and you're ready to kick that brain fog to the curb, you can visit shopc60.com to check it out and use the code Megyn10 for 10% off your first order. Okay, that's shopc60.com, promo code Megyn10, or you can just click the link in the description for shopc60.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.